Welcome children. Today we will discuss with the chapter 14 chemical effects of electric current. Children, here you can see a tester. A conduction tester is a device used to determine whether a substance is a good or poor conductor of electricity. Okay, conduction tester using a torch bulb. Tester, you must have seen an electrician carrying it, isn't it? So, a simple conduction tester has an electric cell and a torch bulb. One terminal of the cell is connected to one terminal of the bulb by a wire. Okay. And the other terminal of the cell and bulb have wires which can be brought in contact with materials to test whether they are good or poor conductors of electricity. So, here you can see this is a cell. The cell is connected to the bulb here, and the other end of the cell via wire is connected to a nail here you can see, and the bulb also is connected to the nail here, see you can see. And if here it appears to be not a metal, isn't it? So if it is a metal, then metal is a good conductor, so the bulb will glow. If the material is something like plastic or something, then definitely the bulb will not glow, because plastic will not be a conductor there, right? So this material which you keep here, insert here in this particular circuit, will tell you whether this material is a conductor or not. Conduction tester using LED bulbs. You see, these are some of the LED bulbs. Sometimes the current flowing through the circuit may be too weak and the filament of the bulb may not get sufficiently heated to make it glow. Then instead of a torch bulb, an LED can be used in the circuit. LED glows even when a weak current flows in the circuit. So this is called a circuit, children. At least you must have a cell, okay, wires and a switch if you have, and a small bulb or something, that will be complete. And if the bulb glows when you switch on, and when you switch off, if the bulb is put off, then that is a circuit. Such connections for a circuit. Okay, so here you can see this LED bulb is there here, right? So here LED glows even when a weak current flows, right? You can see. So different ways of connecting LED bulbs you can see here, right? Huh. So conduction test using a magnetic compass. So here the needle here of the compass that deflects or it moves rather when current flows. So that's what we will observe. If a magnetic compass is kept near a wire and current flows through the wire, the magnetic needle gets deflected. So we can use a magnetic compass instead of a torch bulb or LED. The magnetic needle gets deflected even if a weak current flows in the circuit. Then electrical conductivity of solids. Some solids are good conductors of electricity, like all metals. Most of the metals are good conductors, children. Okay, copper, steel, iron, aluminium, all these. And some solids, of course, if you consider the state, then some solids are good conductors, some solids are poor conductors. What are the poor conductors here? Wood, plastic, rubber, glass, all these are poor conductors of electricity, right? Then electrical conductivity of liquids. Some liquids are good conductors of electricity. What are the liquids? Tap water, salt solution. The acid solution means if you dilute, or otherwise also acid as a liquid, then sodium hydroxide, etc. Acids, bases and salts, okay, are good conductors. And tap water, when we say, that means this water is not pure. It's not the pure drinking water that is pure for the H2O. It is H2O, that is water dissolved with some salts. So this is also having salt. So it's like the salt solution. So this tap water also will conduct electricity. Clear? Some liquids are poor conductors of electricity, mostly organic solvents. Distilled water. When we say distilled water, this is chemically pure water which doesn't contain other salts. So this particular distilled water, then kerosene, the oils, okay, spirit, sugar solutions, all these are basically organic in nature, means carbon containing. They don't form ions. Okay, so these particular liquids will be poor conductors of electricity. Then what are the chemical effects of electric current? So children, you know that there are two types of changes, the physical change and a chemical change, at least, isn't it? A physical change means something change in the form, say water is solidifying into ice and ice is melting into water, all these are some physical changes rather, means chemically it is H2O, it is remaining H2O, but when it is coming to a chemical change, there is a change in the formula also sometimes. So in this case, an electric current passes through a conducting solution, it causes chemical reactions. So here you can see that there is a cell, there is a power supply here, and the one metal rod which is dipped here, which is connected to the positive terminal, it is called anode, and the one which is connected to the negative terminal of the battery or the power supply is called cathode. So, and here you have got the solution which is called electrolyte, and these two anodes and cathodes are called electrodes. Okay, so when you when you allow electricity to pass through this particular electrolyte solution, this solution will ionize into positive and negative what to say ions, and the negative ion, okay, will move towards the opposite pole. So negative ions will move towards, negatively charged ions will move towards anode, because anode is positively charged, so they are anions, and the ions which have positive charge will move towards the cathode, so they are called cations. Clear? So that's how the solution is going to break into ions or components. Okay. So when it breaks like that, then that is called electrolysis or electrolysis. Lysis means breaking. So we will see electrolysis of water here. So water is H2O. You know that, isn't it? So H2O, you can break that into hydrogen and oxygen gases. Clear? So this is cathode and this is anode. So at the anode point, you will get oxygen, and at the cathode point, you will get hydrogen gas. Clear? And this happens when you pass electricity through water. Clear? So oxygen gas you will get, hydrogen gas you can get. Now, electroplating. If you want to deposit, as we said, when you subject electrolytes to, when you pass electricity to electrolyte solution, then there are some chemical changes happening. So we have seen that ions will be there, and they move towards opposite electrodes, isn't it? Cations and anions. So in this case, we can make an advantage, we can derive an application out of it, where you can get one metal deposited on another metal. Now, why do we want this? Because, say for example, artificial jewelry you take, the little bit of gold is getting deposited on something called copper or any other cheaper metal, because gold is very precious and costly. In such case, artificial jewelry you see. So sometimes it so happens that you can't obviously uh, go for a very costly metal in the pure form. In that case, a costlier metal is deposited on a cheaper metal, and that's what is exactly electroplating. The process of depositing a layer of any desired metal on another material by means of electricity is electroplating. So you can have, for electroplating of copper on an object, the object is dipped in acidified copper sulfate solution and connected to the negative terminal of a battery. So here you can see copper strip is there, metallic spoon is there. So when you subject to this particular copper sulfate solution, what happens is you get a copper deposition on this metallic spoon. Okay, so from the copper strip, copper is lost to the metallic spoon, and this particular copper is getting deposited here. And in general, the copper sulfate is also dissociating into copper ions and sulfate ions, and this copper also is getting deposited here. Similarly, if you want silver to be deposited on the spoon, then you require silver nitrate solution and silver electrode. So this gets deposited on the spoon. So similarly, if you want aurum is nothing but gold. So if you want the gold to be deposited on something, a cheaper metal, then you have to have the solution which is made up of gold, and then a rod which is again made up of gold, so you can get deposited on this. So did you understand? So what are the uses of electroplating? Electroplating is used in industry for coating metal objects with a thin layer of a desired metal. Chromium has a shiny appearance and it does not corrode. So chromium plating is done on objects like bicycle parts, car parts, taps, gas burners, wheel rims, and handles of the cars. You see, they are shining. You see, that's how chromium, that is clear. Jewelry makes electroplate gold and silver on less expensive metals to give an appearance of gold or silver. Tin cans used for storing food are electroplated with tin over iron, because tin is less reactive than iron and protects iron from corrosion. What is corrosion? Corrosion is when iron reacts with the moisture outside, you find that iron gets a reddish coating of rust formation, isn't it? So that itself is corrosion. That will make the iron become weak also. So better that it is galvanization bhi karte hain, isn't it? So you know that in lower classes you have read about galvanization also. So to protect iron from corrosion, you can have another metal like tin get deposited over that. Iron objects are coated with zinc to protect it from corrosion. That is also there. So one metal depositing on other. Okay? So let's meet again in the next session, children. Until then, bye.